mental health, I bring up addictions, because a lot of times there's this very strong connection to
Everything from his childhood is actually coming to the forefront as well. So he's very traumatized. He is looking for help, but in the wrong places. One of the things he expressed to me, he thinks that one of the things that's going to help him is you need to fully heal before you even bring yourself to someone else. I said, you got to peel back the layers of this trauma that you're having. I said, let's focus on the people that hurt you. So you yourself have to forgive them. You're willing to drain this person of their energy. What do they get out of this relationship with you? They're just coddling you. They're just loving you. So I said, first things first, you're going to actually become addicted to this loving that you're getting, to the point where when the loving changes, because this person that's loving you is going to start saying, okay, I've been loving you, but what am I getting out of it? Then you're going to say, you know what? This person is becoming a problem now. Okay, we got to shut this off and find somebody else. So you're going to become an addict to this plastic love, because you're not going to want to have anything to do with the person per se. It's going to be all about you. And then in the process, you're hurting someone else. You're talking about, they know better, but that continuing the cycle feels comfortable because they don't know how to get out of that cycle.
Whoop-de-woo, it's your favorite Twin Flames. We are back here for another episode of the Twin Flame Spiritual Chefs. I'm your host, Janine, along with my co-host, Miss Keisha.
Hey, welcome back.
Yay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are so happy to have you here. I know that we are gaining a little bit of momentum as far as our viewers, and we just need people to understand something important about who we are and what it is that we do before we get started with this subject, because we need people to understand there's a lot of people out here that are talking about the subjects of shadow work. And shadow work takes a lot of inner soul searching, and some people just don't know how to do it. And you see podcasters and you see people in social media that are talking about shadow work, and they're telling you, everybody's saying, do it, pointing the finger at you, saying, do it, just do it. And nobody's giving you the math. Nobody's giving you the recipe. And that's why the Twin Flame Spiritual Chefs are here, because you need to know that there is a different recipe to the path of healing.
Yes,
and it is a process. And first and foremost, you have to be patient with yourself. And then you need someone that's going to help you tap in and to understand these things that can bring it to the forefront, bring it to light.
Yes.
So I know over the weekend I was watching, I was on social media, and I had stumbled upon a famous podcaster, a socialite that a lot of people know by the name of B. Simone. And she had a famous therapist on her show, that this therapist, she's starting to gain a lot of notoriety, because a lot of the things that she's saying, it's hitting people right in the core. It's hitting you right in your gut. And when I tell you, that girl was boohoo crying on her show, she was boohoo crying.
She hit the core.
Hit her in that gut. Because a lot of people don't even realize these things are sitting down deep down and underneath a lot of dust.
Yes.
And we don't even know the shit is there. You don't even know the shit is there.
You don't. You really don't.
So but yet we live every day and we encounter certain problems in our lives, and we're trying to understand, well, why isn't it working out this way? Or why doesn't he love me? And, why can't I accomplish this? Because you have to understand that the problem starts with you. So, going back a couple of weeks ago, Keisha and I had also went to go see two famous YouTubers, and I'm not going to say their names, but they were performing and teaching people about the process of healing. It was a remarkable show, but they had an additional person on their roster who called themselves a life coach. And this particular person, it was crazy, because this particular person, when she was talking on the when she was performing, she had people stand up and throw things at her, and she was healing them on the spot and giving them that good advice on the spot. And there's one example. There was this one girl that stood up, and she said that she was in the process of trying to apply for a new job. Remember, Keish?
Oh
She was in the
yeah.
process of trying to apply for a new job. She wanted to become a supervisor or a manager,
Manager.
but and she was currently like a just a regular clerk or something
This
like
one of
that.
employees, yeah.
And she didn't know what she was doing wrong, and she wanted to gain the confidence to be able to get that job. And this particular life coach, she says, "Oh, you want that job? Just own it. Just imagine that you had this job. Fix your hair." When she said fix your hair, I was so offended. I was
Because her
so
hair look
offended.
good. To me, they look fine. Kind of look like my hair.
Listen, I was offended on behalf of this girl because this is the thing. This life coach was just telling her to get to the other side of the river, but wasn't telling her how to cross it.
How to cross it. That's right.
And you're
She didn't
supposed to
say get a
be
raft, get a boat. She didn't say none of that. Just go there.
she didn't say spit the water out. She didn't say take some swimming lessons. She didn't say nothing except how to get to the other side of the river. And it just really pissed me off because there's so many podcasters, there's so many life coaches out here that are
Yeah.
giving you the end game. And
Yes.
nobody's telling you the math. Nobody's telling you the recipe, how to acquire it.
And that's what
And
we're spiritual chefs.
that's why we're chefs.
Because
That's
we
why
whipping up some recipes for you.
we cooking the shit up.
Yep.
Because everybody has a different path to it, but there's still a generalization behind the messages that we are sending. And
Exactly.
I need people to understand that again, you got to be patient with yourself and you have to be willing to face yourself because a lot of times, a lot of these problems start with you. They start with you.
Exactly.
And I've said that
Exactly.
before. So, this topic that we're going to talk about today, and I know it'll probably resonate with a lot of people. And because if it's not you, then I'm sure you'll know someone else that is dealing with this problem. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to, and if it does resonate with you, I'm just asking that you like and you share with someone that you know can benefit from this topic, because
Exactly.
this topic, like I said, it does affect a lot of people. And this is just a general recipe for what's going on. And, as a disclaimer, we are not claiming to be um, healers. Well, we don't want to claim any, we are healers. I don't want to take that from us, but I don't want to claim that if there's any issues that may be beyond a spiritual aspect of yourself, whether it's medicinal or physical issues going on with yourself, that you shouldn't seek further guidance. So
Exactly.
please make sure that if you are dealing with depression and other mental health issues, that you do speak to a healthcare provider about your issues. So with that being said, let me take a big old deep breath. But
Take a swig of water.
let me get my little flamingo cup.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute.
But no, seriously, because this is a serious topic. I want to talk to people about some of the addictions and mental health problems that people have, and relationships, and people trying to understand how their inner issues, how their deep and dark emotional trauma, how it manifests as an adult and it starts to affect our relationships. And I
Oh
bring up
yeah.
mental health, I bring up addictions because a lot of times there's this very strong connection to the two. And
Mm-hmm.
you are so oblivious that you have no idea
Exactly.
that it is happening. So I know over the weekend, Keish, you
Yes.
were telling me a story, which is one of the reasons why we had jumped on. And we said we
Oh
had to
yeah.
jump on and do this topic really quick because over the weekend, I know that you had a conversation with someone,
Oh
and
yeah.
that was in relation to this topic. And I just want you to share your story.
Okay, so my cousin, of course, I'm not going to say his name, gentleman in his 40s, because Janine and I are coming out about our gifts, he called me up and wanted some advice, and he was expressing to me that he himself has a lot of emotional trauma from his childhood and even from his adulthood. And he gave me an example how like there was a period in his life where he was very successful. And when he was on the top of the mountain, everybody was his friend. Everyone wanted to be around him. He had an entourage. And when he hit rock bottom, everyone left him. And so since then, he's been struggling, trying to get his life in order. And with that being said, everything from his childhood is actually coming to the forefront as well. So he's very traumatized. He is looking for help, but in the wrong places. So one of the things he expressed to me, he thinks that one of the things that's going to help him is a relationship with someone that can give him the love that he needs. He revealed to me for the last like year, he's been celibate on purpose because he knew he needed to get his mind right and he needed to get his life right. And he figured, let me go and be by myself while I try to work through these things. He actually got closer to God. He's been praying. So he's in the right direction, but I had to give him a little recipe to help him go in a better direction. So with that being said, going back to the whole thing with him saying he felt like he needed someone to give him emotional support and from a partner, from a woman. And he wanted this person, he wants this person to be with him, but he doesn't really want to have a relationship with the person. He just needs human touch. He needs someone to support him. He needs a cheerleader. That's what he feels like he needs. So this is where the recipe came in.
Mm-hmm.
I said to him, listen,
Talk that talk.
I said, that sounds fine and dandy. I said, if you could find that person that's willing to do that with you without any attachments, because that's what he said. He really didn't want too much of attachments because he's still working on himself. So he didn't want to have to, focus on somebody else, but he just need that aspect of that person. And I said, first of all, you need to fully heal before you even bring yourself to someone else. I said, you got to peel back the layers of this trauma that you're having. I said, let's focus on the people that hurt you. I said, right now, those people that hurt you years ago, this was like within the last 5 years when he was on top of that mountain. I said, they're going on with their daily lives and they're not even thinking about you. So I said, first things first is you got to forgive them. I said, you're not forgiving them for them. You're forgiving them for yourself so you can move on. I said, because every day you're ruminating about these individuals that hurt you and scarred you. And meanwhile, they don't even remember they probably don't even think of your name at all. So you yourself have to forgive them. Then I also said to him, you have to forgive yourself. I said, because obviously you've hurt other people. No one goes through life perfect without hurting anyone. So I said, whatever. And when I said to him, you need to forgive yourself, he said, because in our lives, there's things that we've done that we're not proud of, and we'll stuff it in our back pocket, we'll stuff it in our closet, and we'll just keep it tucked away. But it's actually there on the forefront, reminding us of who we are. And every time it comes to we just shoo it away. No, get away from me, get away from me. But actually, you have to face that issue that you have with yourself and forgive yourself. So that's the second thing I told him. And he was like, wow. And the third thing I said to him was, I asked him about his prayer and his, because he said he has a relationship with God. So I said, okay, so you have this relationship with God. He said, I pray every day. I said, do you meditate? He says, I try to meditate. And I says, well, listen, prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. So I said, as you're healing, you have to allow God to, so I explained to him, we all have a spiritual team and we've discussed this before. And so he was like, we have a spiritual team. I said, yeah. I said, God assigned a spiritual team to you. You have angels around you that are willing to help you. I said, you've done a lot of praying. I said, and obviously you're not healing the way you need to heal. I said, your team, your angels are willing to help you, but you have to tag them in.
Yes.
Another thing I told him, let me get this right. Oh, this is the part that I loved. So I said, okay, so now you want this love from someone else. So you're willing to drain this person of their energy And then what do they get out of this relationship with you? They're just coddling you, they're just loving you. So I said, first things first, you're going to actually become addicted to this loving that you're getting, to the point where when the loving changes, because this person that's loving you is going to start saying, okay, I've been loving you, but what am I getting out of it? Then you're going to say, you know what? This person is becoming a problem now. Okay, we got to shut this off and find somebody else. So then you're going to start seeking this love from different people. So I said, you're going to become an addict in finding this plastic love. I call it plastic love because it's not real love. So I said, you're going to become an addict to this plastic love because you're not going to want to have anything to do with the person per se. It's going to be all about you. And then in the process, you're hurting someone else. So he
So
was like, oh, he was like, wow, I didn't think of that. So then,
exactly. Like that. See, that's it right there. And I think that a lot of people are dealing with this right now, where they are in a relationship with someone who has experienced this plastic love. I'm gonna call it pseudo love.
yeah,
It's a pseudo love because they think that they are exhibiting love because that's what they're used to, but they're really on autopilot. They're on an autopilot and they don't know that they are hurting the next person. And a lot of times it's because they put on blinders to
mm-hmm,
how receiving other people's emotions. They're not willing to understand the other person's emotions, and they have become so compartmentalized within their own situation that
yes,
of course they don't know how much they are hurting the next person, and in them being on autopilot, they haven't had the opportunity to step outside of what has caused them to become to maintain this repetitive behavior.
yes.
And sometimes a lot of people don't even see that they're doing anything wrong. Just like the example that you're giving, the person that you're speaking of, they don't even realize that they are doing anything wrong.
No, they
And
don't. They don't.
yeah, and
And,
that's
and,
part.
and you know, I not to cut you off, but because I know of another person where they go on dating sites and they are very handsome and they put up stipulations to the women that they're seeking and they tell them, I don't want a relationship. I just want someone I can be that can be a companion to me. So by putting up those laws, they're not allowing the person that they're dating to have emotions with them. And as soon as that person start having emotions and start saying, well, I know you said X, Y, Z, but how about having a relationship with me? He literally cuts them off. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I told you from the beginning, I listed it in the dating app. I don't want that extra stuff. I just want the surface stuff.
But see,
But
that person was honest about who they were.
yeah,
Because there's a lot of people out here that are not honest about who they are, and they'll
yes,
just take a person through the rigmarole just
you're
because.
right.
And
You're
and if
right.
you catch the right one, you'll be willing to go through this roller coaster ride unnecessarily because you don't have a shut off valve. And
hmm
at least
hmm
that person was honest about who they were, but they were not honest about what was causing the problem. And then what happens is they're
Yes,
living in this
yes,
misery. They're
yes,
they're festering and living in misery, and they're replacing it with a limited amount of satisfaction, a limited opportunity
hmm
to be satisfied. And that's where these addictions start coming in, because it's like
yeah,
an instant immediate or short-term gratification, and that
yes,
short-term gratification it ends up just becoming like a cycle.
yeah, yeah.
So and that was so like that's a problem. So you have like a lot of people. I don't want to say, all right, I'm just going to speak on behalf of the ladies because it's just going to make my life a little bit easier. I'm going to speak on behalf of the ladies
Yes, keep
that
it
are
real.
that are dating these men or women, and they're they may be handsome, good looking people. They may have a lot of money. They may have be very extremely charming,
Yes.
and but these people have things within them that isn't right. That shit is wrong.
hmm
The shit that they do
hmm
to you is damn wrong. And
Yes,
we sit there
yes.
and we engage in their misery because a lot of us, not to go off on a little a tangent, but a lot of us also have our own inner problems that we have to face. But you catch that right person, and then you have created a trauma bond with that individual, and you guys are not willing to find out the core of why you're going through some of the cycles that you're going through in your relationships. So you're dating these handsome men, and these handsome men have these mama issues. They may even
Mm-hmm.
have daddy issues, and
Yeah.
they are not willing to express or face. And it's really sad to watch because I've had a similar, I mean, we've all had it. I don't want to single
Mm-hmm.
myself out, but I have no problem sharing my story.
Yeah.
But we have all dated somebody that has had these type of issues that they're not willing to fix. And a lot of times it just seems like it's men that are the biggest culprits. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
In my
Well,
experience, I don't want
you,
to generalize. In my
but you
experience,
know what? I'm gonna, because we on this show we try to be as transparent as possible. And as you're speaking, you know what hit me? I I had some trauma and some emotional trauma and childhood trauma because I didn't have I never recall even my parents living together. Excuse me. My mother and father, I think, split up when I was a year old. And then I had a stepfather who wasn't my stepfather. Put like this, he didn't even fit this description of a stepfather. So what happened was when I started dating, I was looking for guys that can be protective over me.
exactly.
So I, I was picking wrong dudes, but as long as he could protect me like a father, I felt safe with him. And he was maybe a straight up asshole, excuse my French. But the trauma within me was I didn't grow up with a father. The stepfather I didn't have, or that lived with me, he was an asshole to me. So in turn, I said, you know what, I gotta find. And this is all coming to me now that the men that I picked, the rule was as long as they could protect me, I'm with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm revealing something about myself today, everyone.
That's all right. Listen, we are here to
Yeah.
talk. We are here to. I have no shame. We have no shame in our stories because, as I have mentioned before, everybody has a story, and we have to acknowledge that everybody has a story.
Yes.
And no, and this platform is not meant to judge people, but it's meant to bring light to the process of healing because we all have it. Like we all have
Yeah.
it. We all have things within us that we know is not solid.
Yeah.
And
But
that's
you
the
know,
thing.
I think the key too is for people to acknowledge it and not hide it. Like there's
Correct.
people who have emotional trauma that are willing to let it
Right.
sit and rot in the background. And meanwhile, they're on the forefront acting like life is perfect when it's not. And then they're trying to move forward and they're putting their woes on other people and expecting other people to make them happy, like we mentioned before. But
Exactly.
meanwhile, this rotten
Yep.
trauma in the background is now it's starting to stink.
And that's what creates the addiction because you have the best looking person or the person that you think looks so put together, and then
Yes.
meanwhile they go home and they're an alcoholic, you
Yes.
know, or
Yes.
dating a man that just is so amazing. Look, oh, he is better than sliced bread, honey,
Yeah.
and he is addicted to porn and doesn't
Mm.
realize that he's addicted to porn. And a lot of times you put that energy, like, let's talk about this whole porn thing,
Yeah.
right? You put a lot of energy into fulfilling this sexual gratification, right? This sexual gratification that happens.
Hmm.
And again, it's instant. Like it's something that just
Yeah.
comes and goes. And this is why there's a lot of men. I'm sorry, I'm generalizing again,
There's
but
women too.
a lot of men, a lot of women that will just date people and have no emotional attachment to them because they're so desensitized on different
Hmm.
levels. The right, this
Yeah.
desensitization happens, but they don't understand that repetitive behavior is just coming from something where, like for instance, I don't know, maybe that their mother abandoned them. Their mother abandoned them. So
Hmm.
they're used
Yeah.
to somebody leaving them and they not And as an adult, you don't even have to acknowledge it anymore because you have become so desensitized to that emotion that
Yep.
you just continue to date women, and every 2 weeks, or every cycle you cycle women like underwear, and you cycle them like
Exactly.
drawers, and it's nothing to you. But then the little boy within you or the little girl within you says, I want love. I want
Mm-hmm.
somebody to love me. I want
Yeah.
somebody to treat me right. I want, you want all of these great
Yeah.
higher vibrational emotions. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
even realize you're keeping yourself from obtaining these emotions because you just don't want to face the core of the problem.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Then, and that problem is your mama did you wrong.
Yeah.
Or your
Exactly.
daddy or your dad wasn't around, right? Things like that. Like your dad wasn't around. And
Mm-hmm.
because your dad wasn't around, you think that nobody loves you.
Also too, eating. Overeating is a tool that a lot of us use for our emotional traumas.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest factors, especially in this country. And we have food at our, fingertips. You can drive down the street and go to your local Wendy's and Burger King,
Mm-hmm.
and get a large fry.
Yeah, that
Sound like
instant
a, but
yeah, I'm working on that now.
yeah, I'm like, damn. But it's the trauma that you have
It's
in
a
your life that
trauma.
you're not tapping into. And a lot of times people don't even realize that they're overeating because food give us instant gratification. And that's what happens when you have emotional trauma sitting there, and Janine mentioned that, is that you need that instant gratification all the time. All
Mm-hmm.
the time you're looking, and in the meantime you're not even focusing. You don't even have plans, like I said, to even look back and say, you know what, I got some stuff back there I need to clean out. No, you're like moving forward and
Exactly.
eating, watching porn,
Social media,
alcohol,
social media.
oh
You don't
my
even
God.
understand the dopamine hits that are happening because of social media, because of these addictions, these quick
Yes.
dopamine hits. And that's why
Yes.
there's so many people walking around here depressed, because
Yes.
everybody wants I'm telling you, this turns into a whole
Yes.
chemical and physical thing. That's why
Yes.
Keisha and I we're so well versed in understanding a lot of these things. Because don't forget that both of us are registered nurses too.
Yes.
So we can make a lot of these connections that the average
Mm-hmm.
person may not be able to make. So, and I know some of you have heard about these dopamine hits. So
Mm-hmm.
you could be festering in your depression, and then you keep giving yourself these dopamine hits of social media or food or sex or drugs or alcohol.
I have a
And
confession. There have
yeah,
been times where I know I need to do something, and I'll go to check to see if I got any text messages, and I'll
on
land
social media.
somewhere on social media, and then 30 minutes later, I'm like, wait a minute. You were
Yeah.
supposed to be washing them dishes or whatever you were supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to
Yeah.
be doing some charting for my home care job, but I ended up in social media, and I stayed there for like 30 to 45 minutes, and knowing I shouldn't have been there. And sometimes I'm in such a trance that I don't even realize until like, oh shoot, what time is it? So, because like you said, that
Exactly.
dopamine, it's so one of the things, because not to drag it out, and I don't want to bore anybody, but one of the quick things I want to give somebody a suggestion. As you're doing whatever you do, whether it's smoking a cigarette, whether it's having that glass of wine, or I won't say wine, I like wine, but having that glass of vodka, we're gonna use vodka.
And we're talking
uh,
about addictions. We can't be encouraging
I know, no,
while
no,
I
no.
sip this is seltzer water. This is seltzer. I swear to God.
As you're eating those fries, ask yourself, what am I running from?
Yep.
And start listing. And don't do a mental list. Actually, get a piece of paper or text yourself. What are the things I'm running
Where are
from?
you running from?
Am I running from trying to fill out applications for a new job because my spiritual team has been nudging me to get a new job, and I know it's time, but because of my fears, I don't want to do it. I feel like I can't do anything, so I'm just going to stay stagnant. So in the meantime, while you're looking at social media, you should be looking up some new jobs. Or as you're smoking the cigarettes, you're thinking, so like I said, write down a list of things or text yourself. That's the beginning. That's the seed of starting. Face your traumas. That's how you
Right.
have to look at it and see where the problem lies. Sometimes you'll be like, oh, shoot, I did forget I had this issue. So that's the beginning, is acknowledge what's holding you back and why are you using these vices to mask what you're trying to avoid.
Exactly. And you
Yeah.
brought up you brought up something important about losing time, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you start the work, then you start other things start falling into place, and you start realizing that you do have the ability to be able to to master your timeline, because
Yes.
you have blocked yourself from mastering your timeline because you don't even realize that you're so engaged in some of these other these shadows, these dark parts of ourselves, unknowingly,
Yeah.
that is preventing us from moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
and then again also keeping us within these cycles. So
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, it's really not an easy process. At the end of the day,
Mm-mm.
we know that it's not an easy process, and you have to be careful of how just in general of how you continue to partake in a lot of these vices.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean that's obvious, but you have to be careful because you don't know how it's affecting the next person, and you're also creating
Exactly.
karma. So that's why we have to bring the spirituality back into it, mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
We have to bring the spirituality back into it because you don't understand how you affect the next person,
Exactly.
and it can be a strike against you. It can
Yeah.
end up
You,
being a strike against you.
yeah,
You develop
you
that
could develop
karma.
karma. Yeah. Like I told my cousin, if you just need someone to coddle you, and that person wants more from you, and you're not giving them more, now you're damaging that person.
Mm-hmm.
So because you're addicted to what they can offer you versus what you can do with them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And that trauma can be so deep. It can cut so freaking deep. That's why you got to understand there's a different recipe to fixing it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it can even manifest into illness, not only mental illness, but
Oh
physical
yeah.
illness.
Yeah.
And we all know what happens with addiction, especially if
Mm-hmm.
it includes substances,
Oh yeah.
and how it can transmute within the body. So be mindful. This is why we're here. We're here to talk about it, just to bring it to your attention.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is a work in progress, including
Oh
myself.
yes. And me.
Yeah, and,
We didn't get
so
here by, being novices. No, we've had some trauma in our lives, and we worked through it, and we still are working through it. But we've been ordained by God, like I've mentioned before, to help you through your experiences. So,
no
you know,
doubt, no
yep.
doubt. Like I just want to share a story too about a family member of mine who has some issues as far as addiction, and this person is afraid to look at himself, and he's in a relationship with someone else in which they have bad behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
substance behaviors, bad substance behaviors, and they have both experienced some very, very sad and significant trauma. And
Mm.
I wish I wish I could help them, but some people have to be ready for it too. So that's a whole
Yeah.
nother subject. But
Yeah.
just to watch how it manifests into these ongoing repetitive behaviors. And it's just sad to see how they enable and affect each other,
Mm-hmm.
because neither one of them is willing to get the help that they need. And a lot of it just, and I know, because I know this family member, obviously it's my family member, but this family
Yeah.
member's problem, I know where it came from. And it was just an issue with one of their parents. And,
Mm.
and that's why I
Yep.
said, everybody has experiences, childhood traumas, and but how you allow it to affect you as an adult obviously
Yes.
is on you.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't matter when you start the healing process, as long as you start the process and
Exactly.
be
Not
aware.
how you start, how you finish.
Not how exactly is how you finish it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also in being aware of how your response to it just affects the people around you. That's the main thing because,
Yeah.
as we do what we do and teaching people and understanding themselves and going through this healing process, then you can stop the chain. You can stop the cycle of karma and how it affects other people because that's so,
Hmm.
so important because it just becomes an ongoing, like a web
Yeah.
of pain,
Yeah.
and everybody has a web of pain. And as we interact with each other, we don't realize that our dirtiness, our dirty coats is kind of commingling with each other because of our own shit, man, our own shit.
Before we go, I also a point I want to make is the fact that there are people who are so far gone in their trauma that, like we said, they don't know how to get out of it.
Mm,
And um, what they do is they continue. They continue like how that family member you're talking about. They know better, but that continuing the cycle feels comfortable because they don't know how to get out of that cycle.
so
So
true.
they don't have the recipe. So they say, and then also too, their guilt keeps them there. So it's kind of like, well, I'm already a bad person, so it doesn't even make sense for me to even try to start and try to become a better person. So they rather stay in that rut because they feel like they've disappointed God, and they're like, well, why would I even go to God and ask him for help because I'm already damaged goods.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say to people, God loves you. It doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. And it's okay that you can wake up every morning and you can start from scratch and begin your day and begin your life in a new, you can press the reset button in your life
At any time.
at any time, anytime. Don't feel like whatever you've done for the last 40 years warrants who you are as an individual today. No, 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 no. And I try to preach that to everyone. Your past does not dictate your future. The only thing that dictates your future is you.
That's right.
You can clean up your garbage in the background as you're healing and you can move forward. And you'll find that as you are healing and clean up your mess that you created, like Janice said, then doors will start opening.
Yep.
But God needs you to clean it up first. He can't start adding gifts to you, and you got a lot of. Because then now, how you gonna handle the new gifts with the garbage in the background? It don't balance.
Yeah.
Because you can't handle new stuff, and you got the old stuff to manage, to fix. So just know that God wants you to win, like we said before. God wants you to win. He loves you, and just heal, work on healing. Write your list down, and listen. The 20 Flame Spiritual Chefs are here to help you.
Always here.
Be here.
Love
And you can
yourself
contact
enough.
us.
Love
Yep.
yourself enough to believe
Yes.
that you deserve the healing. And
Yes.
you cannot love somebody else until you learn how to love yourself. That was such a hard lesson that I had to learn in my
Hmm.
lifetime, is knowing that I was deserving of the healing process.
Yeah.
And then it
Hmm.
all begins. And then you start seeing how things start to fall into place. And you do feel lighter. And you do have
Oh
more, you
yeah.
feel more encouraged.
You
Um,
do.
yeah, and more willing to love and to experience new and different things. So it has to start with you, and just know that you're not alone, because again, there's so many people out here that are experiencing these emotions, this heaviness. Millions of people, billions of people.
Billions. That's why God sent us to help you through
Exactly.
that.
Billions of
And
people. Yeah, go ahead.
and if you have like a list of 10 things, listen, don't try to master all 10 things at once.
Yeah.
Is chip away at it. Just chip away at it. God does not ask you to fix it in one day. Chip away at it, check off your list and say, okay, I'm going to do that. I had one person I spoke to and they called 30 people and apologized to them. 30 people. Listen, hey, I was so enthralled. I was so happy that that person did that. I don't even know if I could have did that myself. 30 people.
Yeah.
But listen, and it let me tell you, the doors that opened up for that person after they did that was amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just little step by step. I'm sure he didn't call 30 people in one day.
Hmm. Yeah, but it starts the healing process
Yes.
emotionally, physically, spiritually. It starts the healing process just by making one phone call, let alone 30 phone calls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just to forgive people and to start letting go of some of these things that hold us back from moving forward. So, I hope that this subject again touches people.
Yes.
There's a lot of people out here that have relationship problems, and everybody has it, and you really have to start honing in onto these relationships, but also consider the relationship that you have with you.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
a relationship that you have with you because that is most important over anything else because you can't have flourishing and beautiful relationships until you fix yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fix it, people, fix it. So thank you everyone for entertaining us today.
Yes.
It's been a good show. I'm so grateful that you have made us a part of your life in the healing process and continue to do the work. Know that you are worth it. And just remember
Mm-hmm.
that God is love. Love is the highest frequency. And go and find the God within you. Bye
You.
bye.